right, welcome everybody. My name is Sean Brown, and today we're going to be doing the Classified G Suite webinar today. And we're going to go over Google Drive, and we're also going to go over Google Docs, and if time permits, maybe we can explore Sheets or slides, depending on if we have time. But we'll only have an hour today, so we're going to focus on those two primarily. So let's go ahead and get started. Just to introduce myself here, my name is Sean Brown, and I'm the Instructional Technology Supervisor here for the school district, and I work at the Department of Innovation and Learner Engagement. Here's my information here, and feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to help you out with any questions that you have about this webinar or any other questions that you may have about G Suite or anything Google. If you're working outside of your contract hours today, please be sure to wait till the end of this webinar so you can get the link to sign in and get credit. I just wanted to throw that out there for you guys. So for anyone who is working outside their normal working day, just be sure to fill that out. We would really appreciate it. Before we begin, I would like to go over some things here, some supplemental resources. The first thing is the RUSD Knowledge Base. Please be sure to check it out. If you have any questions or need immediate help, you can look through our knowledge base to find the answers that you need, all covering the most common problems and issues that we have here at the school district with our technology. Also, we'll be going over the RUSD training menu at some point in time during this webinar. The RUSD training menu is a self-help service that's built into all of our Google apps, or all of our core Google apps, and I'll explain what that is. Lastly, you can download the presentation that you're seeing now by typing in that bit.ly link down there at the bottom of the screen. So that's bit.ly/CGSO 2019, all lowercase. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. These are the things that we're going to try and explore today. Like I said earlier, it's going to be Drive and Docs. If we have time, we'll explore Sheets and Slides. I would prefer to go over Slides before Sheets, but we'll see how much time we have before the end of the hour. So the first thing we're going to go over is Google Drive. And Google Drive is your home for all things Google. I would like to think that Google Drive is kind of like the place where you start for all of your Google programs. So let's see what that is. So what is Google Drive? Google Drive is a place to store your files. They are accessible from anywhere. They automatically save, or Google Drive automatically saves anything you work on, and it provides a place for collaboration and sharing. When I say that Google Drive is accessible from anywhere, you can actually download the Google Drive app on your Android or iOS device, and you can also use Google Drive from your computer, of course, but you can have access to all of your files virtually anywhere that you go, which is a huge benefit over not using Google Drive. All right. Whoops. Went a little too far there. All right, so the first thing that we'll want to do is go to Google. And if you're using Google Chrome, that's just going to be your home page, or you can go to google.com. And one thing that we'll want to do is log in. Right now I'm logged into a temporary account. I'm going to go ahead and sign out of that. And I'm going to sign in again. Okay, so this is what it would look like if you've never signed into Google. If you'd like, you can sign into your RUSD Learns account, and your RUSD Learns account is going to be similar to your district email address, and for most everyone it is their first initial and their last name. So in my case, I'm just going to use JDoe for John Doe, and it's going to be at RUSDLEARNS.net. So once I type that in, I'm going to go ahead and click Next. And if you've never logged in before, your password is going to be welcome1 with a capital W. And once you log in, you may be asked to change your password on the first time. I'm going to go ahead and log in here. Just give it a second. And we'll give it another second. And maybe a little longer, and I'm going to give up here and just try again. So let's start that over. Oh, interesting. It must have been lagging there because I'm already logged in. I'm just going to go ahead and run with that. So I'm logged into my account. You should never see it hang like it did, but for whatever reason that happened, I'm not sure. But let's just go ahead and continue. Now that I'm logged in the upper right hand side of the Google search page, you're going to see what we call the waffle icon. And when you click this, it's going to show you a list of a whole bunch of Google apps. Now, you're already signed into your Google account, which means that you're already signed into Gmail, you're already signed into Drive, Classroom, Docs, and Sheets, and so on. Today, we're going to take a look at Drive, so we'll just go ahead and click on that. That's pretty much the easiest way to get to Google Drive. Another way that you can get to Google Drive is, let's say you're already signed in, and if you're a person who likes to type a lot, you can always type in drive.google.com. Okay, so this is Google Drive, and the first thing that we want to talk about is, I guess we'll talk about the layout right here. So we have a search bar up on top that will let us search for our files, and then we also have categories here on the left. Your Google Drive, team drives, files that are shared with you, your most recently used documents, and starred documents, and this is kind of similar to favorites. We also have our trash bin, and that would be similar to the recycle bin on your Windows or Mac desktop. And then in the main window here, we have we will go over this some in more in depth, but this is where all of your files and folders will be. And finally, to the right, we have some details here for anything that you select. So if I've selected this file right here for the webinar, we're going to see some details on what that file may be, but we don't have anything really on here right now because there's nothing to report. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do is we're going to upload some files to Google Drive. In order to start using Google Drive, you have to have things on there. Excuse me. And so let's say that you're thinking, well, I want to go ahead and make that transition from storing everything on my desktop to having it on Google Drive. It's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is just bring this window out here on the desktop, and I have a sample document here. This sample document is a Word document, and it just has some placeholder text in there, but let's say that this is a meeting agenda or something to that effect. We can just take this file, and once we hover this file over the web page and over the Google Drive main window, it's going to say, hey, you can drop these files and upload them to Google Drive. So we'll go ahead and do that. When we drop that in there, it adds the document. And so we have our first document in Google Drive. To preview this file, all we would have to do is double click on it. And when we double click on it, it doesn't really open up in a program per se, but it just gives us a quick view of what's inside that file. So if you ever need to take a quick look, it's really convenient to just double click on it and to be able to see the contents of that file without waiting for a program to load. Also, if you want to open a file, you can do that as well just by double clicking on it and then clicking on Open with Google Docs. If I do that, it will open up the Google Docs page. And in just a minute, it will be in our word processor. And we'll go over that shortly. So one of the things I wanted to cover is that, well, hey, this is a Word document, and what we want to do is we want to convert this into a sample document. I'm sorry, sample document, a Google Docs document. And when I opened it up, it automatically did that for me, but let me just go over that one more time. So right now, it is just a Microsoft Word file, and if I click on this right here to preview the file, then click Open with Google Docs, it's going to open up the Google Docs software, and it's going to open that file and convert it into a document that you can edit within Google Drive. So that's how you're going to easily be able to convert your documents to the Google Drive format, and most every file that you can imagine is supported by Google Drive in doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and run through a couple of hypothetical situations, and one of those is going to be, let's say that we're editing our document, and we make a catastrophic error of some kind, and we need to be able to go back to the original version of that document. So here's my text here, and let's say I'm doing some editing, and let's say I accidentally just wipe everything out, and I'm maybe I just for whatever reason forgot that I had wiped out all of that text, but I really needed it. I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I'm going to open this file one more time, and you can see that Google actually automatically saved that. But let's say I came back to this document a couple days later. I'm like, oh my gosh, where did all of my text go? I worked on it for hours. There's a way for you to restore your history here. And how you can do that is by clicking on File right here, up in the top left, and clicking on Version History. Now you can then click on See Version History. And when you do that, it's going to show you all of your text that you had before. So right now, this is the current version, but it's showing us a little preview of everything that we had deleted in the past. So I'm going to select this saved version of the document, and yeah, I'm going to go ahead and restore this version. So all I have to do that is click on Restore this version. It's going to ask me if I really want to do it. I'm going to say yes. And look at that, it restored everything back to the way that it was. So that's just an example of how Google, even though it does save everything in the background and automatically, it's still going to give you a history of that document if you ever need to go back to it. Okay, let's see here. One thing that you would want to do is also maintain all of the files that are inside Google Drive. And what I mean is you want to keep it clean. One of the things that we do to keep things clean is we delete things. That's how it's easy to keep things tidy. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. All I need to do is click and hold onto the file that I'd like to delete, and I can drag it to the trash. If I do that, it's just going to disappear, and the file will also be gone. If you're the type of person who likes to right-click on files, you can right-click on the file, and it brings up a context menu here, and you just click Remove. Either way will do the same thing. So we're just going to go ahead and drag that over to the trash, and away it goes. So, just like on a Windows or Mac desktop, if you need to restore that file, you can click on the trash category here on the left, and we'll see that we have the document. You can see I've actually been through this several times, but I have the sample document right here that I would like to restore, and I can just right-click on that, click Restore, and when I go back to my drive, there's the document. I'm going to go ahead and just throw that back in the trash. Okay, another thing that we would want to do to keep organized in Google Drive is to create folders. And just like on your Windows desktop or Mac desktop, you can create folders to organize your files. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click anywhere on this, anywhere in any blank space in the main window of Google Drive. I can select New Folder here at the top, and it will let me create a new folder. And I'm just going to call that folder Documents. And there we go. We have a folder called Documents. And we also have another way to create folders. We can click on the New button right up here in the top left, and then we can also click on Folder. When we do that, it's the same thing. It's going to ask us to name it, so I'm going to call this one Presentations. And lastly, I think I'll create one more folder, and I'll right-click to do this one more time, and I think I'll call this one Spreadsheets. Okay, so I have this document right here. I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag this document and hover it over the Documents folder. And when I do that, the file will disappear and it's dropped into the Documents folder. So I'm going to go ahead and just check that it's really there. I'm going to double click on Documents, and lo and behold, the file that we just dragged in there is now in the Documents folder. Another thing that you might want to know is, let's see here, how to create files. You don't need to upload all of your files like we did in the very beginning. You can actually create documents within Google Drive itself. So all we need to do is right-click on a blank area, or click on the New button right here, and we can select Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, and we can also select Google Forms and some other solutions or files that we won't be going over today. But in this case, I'm going to click on Google Sheet. And when it does that, it's automatically going to open up Google Sheets. And it's automatically going to name the file Untitled Spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And when I look at my desktop, or I'm sorry, my Google Drive, well, let me do that one more time. I goofed up. We'll go to Google Sheets here, and we need to give the sheet a name. I'm going to call this my first spreadsheet. And it's been saved. So now if I go to my Google Drive, we're going to see my first spreadsheet here. And again, I can just double click on this and it will open up the file. And I'm just going to pretend here really quick. I'm going to say, hey, I've got a bunch of data in here. I'll just close that out. But I also don't like to keep things too cluttered, so I will just go ahead and drop this into my Spreadsheets folder. And very quickly, I can do the same thing with presentations. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new Google Slides file. And I'll also call this my first presentation. Okay. Very good. And there it is, my first presentation file that I just created. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my presentations folder. Now, one other thing I wanted to go over was, how about we go over the starred folders and files section here. So let's say, for instance, that I have important documents that I have saved to my Google Drive, and I've got tons of files and folders, and it makes that document that I really accessed from day to day really hard to get to because it's buried underneath very many folders, or there's a lot of other stuff just getting in the way, making it hard to find. you can add a star to your folder or file, and we'll go ahead and do that. So just going to double click on documents, and I've got my file here, my sample document. I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to click add to starred. So once I've clicked on add to starred, if I come over to my starred section over here, that document's going to show up. Also, if I go into presentations, I'm going to right click on that presentation and click on add to starred. When I do that, and when I click on the starred category, my presentation also shows up there. So documents that you access daily or very frequently, we recommend that you just go ahead and put a star on it or add it to the starred category so you can have easy access to that. It'll make things a lot easier when accessing your files. Now, let's see here. Another thing that we can do, I'm going to go over how to do this, but we're going to hopefully, we're going to do, well, let me talk here. How about that? We're going to go over sharing files and setting access levels. You can do this from Google Drive or inside an app, but the idea is that you can share your document and have someone else collaborate with you or work on that document at the same time. All they need is to have their phone or the computer, and they can access Google Drive and edit a document right alongside you if they needed to. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go to I'm going to go to the sample document right here. I'm going to right click on that document, and I'm going to click on share. Now, when I click on share, it's going to say, hey, enter the email address of the person you would like to share it to. If you send it to someone with an RUSD Learns email address, they're going to have the ability to view that file, edit that file, or make comments on that file, which we'll go over later, but only if they have an RUSD Learns address or a Gmail address, more importantly. If you were to share it with someone who has a non-Gmail account, it's very difficult for them to get in at this moment to be able to get in and edit. As you're choosing your recipients to share your documents with, just be sure to use their RUSD Learns email address. So to figure out their email address, all you have to do is say, hey, it's the same as their rusd.k12.ca.us email address. You just replace that part with at rusdlearns.net, the same way that we logged in earlier. In this case, I'm going to share this with Carolina Perez. So I'm just going to put in C. Perez. And you can see that it already knows who I'm talking about. And autofills her name right here. There's Carolina. And I'm going to give her access to edit this document. But if I click this drop down, we can also just set that access level. We can say, hey, Carolina can edit, or she can comment, or we don't want her to modify or change the document at all. We can just set this to view. And you have different icons when you select that drop down representing each of them. And also we have Carolina, we can send Carolina a note saying, inviting her to come make edits on this document. I'll go ahead and click send. I'll actually send this off a little bit later because we're going to go over the Google Docs portion in just a minute, and we'll be able to go over the sharing features and actually see that in action. So if I were to click send right now, Carolina would get an email saying, Sean Brown has shared a document with you, and we'll have a little note right there that says, hey Carolina, let's edit this document. And she can click on a link that's provided in the email, and it will take her directly to the document that we're editing. Okay, so that is Google Drive in a nutshell. Feel free to use the chat feature in the YouTube page. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask away. I'll be glad to answer them live with you right now. or we may have someone in the channel who knows the answer. Feel free to answer any of those questions that pop up as well for anyone who is over here at ILE. Okay, so the next section is Google Docs, and Google Docs is your replacement for Microsoft Word. It does everything that Microsoft Word does for the most part, and in a lot of ways it can do things better. So what is Google Docs? Again, it's a place to create documents, and it's also accessible from anywhere, and it automatically saves anything you work on, and it provides a place for collaboration and sharing. This pretty much has all the same features and benefits that Google Drive does, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and see what that is all about. Okay, so Google Docs is built into Google Drive. Now you have two ways of accessing Google Docs. You can do it through Google Drive by creating documents, and we've kind of done that. But I'll go ahead and create a new Google Doc here by right-clicking and creating that document. I'm going to call this my first document. Now, when we take a look at my Google Drive, we'll see that it's created there, just like before. But also, there's another way to get to Google Docs. Now, let's say that for whatever reason you only wanted to see just your Google Docs. You can do that. It's pretty easy. You just type in docs.google.com and hit enter, and it will take you to only your Google documents. It's a good way to keep things separated, but we'll also see that my first document is here as well. We won't be covering the Google Docs page itself today, but I just wanted to show that to you in case you feel like exploring or just having things organized differently. Okay, so one other thing that we can do, we can create documents this way, which is really easy. We right-clicked on a blank space. We also know that we can click on New right here and click on Google Doc. But we can also do one more thing, and I believe that is importing a document. And let me just check something here really quick. Okay, I wanted to show this to you really quick. I had learned about this a couple weeks ago. If you click this cogwheel right up here, it's going to give you some settings for Google Drive. And on our general page, it's going to have an option right here that says Convert Uploads. So if I check this box, it's going to convert uploaded files to Google Docs or into the Google Docs editor format. So I'm going to go ahead and click Done. So now, if I were to drag this file over, in theory, it should automatically convert this into a Google document from its existing Word format. Lo and behold, it did. It is actually in a Google Docs format, although it does retain the original file name. It has the .rtf at the end. But that's how you can import your Google documents easily. So just remember, you can click this cogwheel right here, go to Settings, and then click this checkbox that says Convert Uploads. I found that to be really convenient. There are some more roundabout ways to converting your documents, but this just seems to be the quickest and easiest way to take care of that. Okay, so let's get back into our My First Document. Now, I guess before we begin, this is some of the specifics with Google Docs. Let's go over what everything is here. So up at the top left, we have if we just click into this title right here, it will let us edit it. And when we change this title right here, it also changes the title in your Google Drive. So this is as an example. I'll just call this my second document. And in theory, when we come back over here to my drive, we can see that it's also been renamed my second document. So just bear in mind that these two are the same thing. The name of the file here and the name of the file in Google Drive are the same. Also, up at the top here, we have what I like to call the kitchen sink. You may hear it be called the kitchen sink out on the web, but basically it means that it's just got everything in it. And we have some basic formatting tools at our disposal. We have the undo and redo buttons here. We have a print button. We also have a spell check button. Format painter, which we won't be going over today, but it is a useful tool. You guys can explore that later. We can zoom in on the text. We can also change the fonts in the text that we use by dropping down and clicking something different. We can also change the size of those fonts. We can make text bold, italicized, underlined. We can also change the text color. We can do a whole lot of things. We can left justify the text and center the text, or right justify it, or just justify it evenly on either side. So there's a lot of stuff here to play around with as we get to know Google Docs a little bit better. To add text, all you really need to do is just start typing. But let's see here. I guess I'm just going to put this is, oops. Okay, I'm going to just use this as an example here. So I just typed in, this is some amazing text. And let's say this is going to be the title of the document that we're using. I can go ahead and highlight that. Now to highlight it, I can just click and drag right over there, right over the text. And you're going to see it already knows that this is left justified. So it's hanging out over here to the left. But I want to center this. So all I have to do is click the center button up here at the top, and I want this to stand out a little bit more, so I'm going to make this bold by clicking the B button, and I can click this drop down here to change the size of the text. I'm going to guess and say that maybe 18 seems pretty big. How about 24? There we go. And I'm not too much of a fan of Arial styled fonts. Let's go with Pacifico. That looks like something you would find out on the internet, that's for sure. So we have customized our text here, which we're off to a good start. Another thing that we can do is we can insert a picture. Now, we have a couple ways to insert a picture. We can click on this button right here where it says image. We can also go to insert, click that button right there, and then, it's not a button, it's actually a drop-down menu, and click image. And when we do that, we get a lot of options over here. Where do we want to get this photo? We also get the same over here when we click the drop-down. And today I'm going to show you something pretty easy. We can pull images directly from Google Drive. We can pull images from Google Photos. We can actually paste a link into a field of text to have it pull that picture in, or we can take a picture of with our camera, and in this case it would be our web camera. So I don't think I'll do that, but what I will do is I'll just search the web. So if I click on search the web, it's going to say, hey, let's search for some images, and we can do that here in this search bar in the upper right. So I like pandas, so I'm going to do a picture of a panda. Yeah, there we go. I selected this one right here just by clicking on it, and I can just click insert down here at the bottom, and it's going to put that picture of the panda right there dead center in the middle of our document. So I'm going to go ahead and change the size of this, and all I have to do is click click and hold on to one of these little squares on the bottom, and it's going to resize that for us. I'm going to change the title here as well. Now if I change the title, now that it's already had some formatting applied to it, it maintains that formatting. All right, so there we go. I know this doesn't seem like much, but we are making progress. I'm also going to change my font size back to the normal size. And I'm also going to change that back to Arial. And I'm going to make this justified for all sides. Let's see here. I can also copy and paste text from anything that I highlight, even from other programs. So I'm going to go to Wikipedia just to find something really quick. And I'm going to search for panda. And look what we have here. I have a little bit of information that I can copy and paste here. Now this is just to show you how to copy and paste. I don't recommend that you go to Wikipedia and actually use content from there. As we all know, Wikipedia can have misinformation, and it could also be considered plagiarism, I suppose, but only if you're a student. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in there. Now, how I did that right there without right-clicking is on my keyboard I use Control-V. I'm going to undo that. Now if I right-click, I can also select Paste right here. But most importantly, when you cut and paste things from the web, you always want to paste without formatting. You can also hold down Control-Shift-V or click this option right here. And what it means is that it's going to take out all of the links and all of the stuff that maybe won't translate very well when pasted into a word processor. So that's another little helpful tip for you right there. Just remember that you always have that option to paste without formatting. All right, let's see what else here. One thing I'd like to do is show you how to insert tables. And tables are it's just one way to organize your page a little bit more nicely. I like to do that by way of using tables and columns, and I'll show you what I mean here. Now that I have my text here in the middle, I'd like to have two separate columns of text below here. And how I can do that is by inserting a table. And when I click on Insert and then Table right here, I'm going to get this grid. And this shows me how big my table needs to be. For today, I need to have 4 squares in there, and I'll show you what I mean. So now that I've done that, I've now got the framework for creating some columns, and so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to make two lists here side by side. I'm going to put great things about pandas and not so great things about pandas. Okay, so these are going to be kind of like the headers or the top of each of my lists. So I want to make this look nice. Now I'm going to highlight all of it right here, and it's going to highlight both of these cells. And I can click the center button, and that kind of makes it look a little nicer. And now I would need to have I need to start creating my list. Pretty easy to do. Pandas are nice. They are, let's see here, they eat a lot. They are bears. they can be mean. Why not? Okay, if you notice something here, it made all of my text bold, and it also it also made it a different size. So if I highlight this text here, oh, no, let me start by saying it made this text bold and larger because the font before it was also in bold. So we need to clean this up a little bit. I'm actually going to highlight all of this text, and I'm going to click the bold button here and unbold that. And I'm going to highlight this text again, and I'm going to bold this part. That makes it stand out a little bit better. Also, I would like to have these two things centered as well for each of those columns. And lastly, I need to find a way to remove the lines on those columns to make things look a little bit more cleaner and transparent. So we're going to try that out. If I right click on this cell and click on Table Properties, it's going to say, hey, how thick do you want your table border? I can click this, drop down right here where it says 1 point, and I can change that to 0, and click OK, and it makes those borders go away. So that's a really easy way to create columns and tables in Google Docs. Okay, now comes the fun part. We're going to go over collaborating on a document with the help of Carolina Perez, hopefully. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. I'm going to share this document, and I'm going to do the same thing like I did before. Type in her email address, select it, and I'm going to be sure that I give her the option to edit. And I'm going to say, could you please edit this document and change the picture of the panda. Also, could you add some more information about pandas in general? I'll go ahead and click that, click send, and off it goes. So with any luck, we're going to see Carolina Perez pop in here in just a moment. She's going to get an email notification with a link to this document, and we're going to see if she pops in here in just a minute. Okay, you can see that she popped in because her icon right here just showed up in the document. So we know that Carolina Perez is here and working on the document. So where is Carolina? Well, if we click, where is she on this document? If you click on her icon right up here on the top, you can see she's actually working on the document right now and making the edits that I asked for her to take care of. So let's say, for instance, she's working on that document. I can continue on down here. I'm just going to say this is great. So as I'm typing into the document, you can also see that she's making some changes. Hopefully she'll be able to change the picture of that bear. And this would be a good time to create a comment. So I'm going to click the comments button right here. If you notice, if I click anywhere on this document, you're going to see this little comment icon right here. So a comment it's not part of the document. It does not show up when you print the document, but it is there for you to see. And the person that you send the comment to will also be able to see it. So I'm going to click on Add Comment. And I'm just going to put, let's see, I'm going to send a comment that says, thank you for the changes. And please mark this resolved when you are done. Okay, when I click comment right here, um, hopefully we should be able to see Carolina. Mark that resolved, and it will the status here will also change. Okay, the status just disappeared, and I believe it's because she marked it resolved. But we will go ahead and revisit comments in just a minute here. But let's go ahead and move on. Just one moment. Okay. I think that we're all done showing you the basics of Google Docs, and we're going to move on to Google Slides here in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and file this document away under Documents. I'm just going to go ahead and drop that in there. And under Presentations, we have our My First Presentation. Now, before we jump into Google Slides, I just wanted to talk about what Slides is used for. Slides is used for presenting on a screen. It could also be used to deliver instructions. But it's a really easy way to create a document that is very visual and easy to read. So you can use it's definitely geared towards presentations, but you could also use it for documentation or instructions as well. So let's go ahead and just dive in. I'm going to double click on My First Presentation. Okay, as you can see here, Google Slides has a similar layout to Word, or I'm sorry, to Google Docs. And on the left side, we have a pane that represents all of the slides that we have, and that's this area right over here. So right now, it just starts you off with one blank slide. Also, we have the main content, and this is the individual page that we're looking at. So all of the other rules apply. We can highlight text, and let me put something in here really quick. Okay, I'm just going to highlight this, and I can select the align option right here, and I can make that centered. And let's see here. So one of the things that I like to do is kind of think of first, how many slides am I going to present? And what steps there are. So I always create a couple of extra slides. I think that should be enough for us right now.